But we are getting the most out of a cycling workout here, riding into the summer, and beyond that, a lot of people like the stationary bike as their form of cardio.
Right, and to that end, probably not a bad idea if we had weather like yesterday and had some smoke. It's probably a good idea to stay indoors.
Exactly.
So indoor biking and cycling can be a little less exciting because you don't have the ups and downs in the outdoors to be in, but there are ways to make it good and ways to get the most out of it so that when you do get back outside, it's you're right on top of it.
Okay.
So
not just a one-trick pony.
No, exactly. Yeah. So what my thought was initially was that most people just hop on the bike and start riding. Because cycling on a stationary bike is so quad based, it's really important to do activation work over and above just your quads. So when you're starting off, even just to do some simple leg swings in a supported position, use your bike for balance, but do leg swings front to back and from side to side. So you're activating that side of it. And take your hip through range of motion, so cyclical movement of an internal rotation and an external rotation. So this external rotation, especially with extension, will activate your glutes. So glutes is such a large part of it. I wanted to balance on that by using one of these bigger bands and standing into a bit of a triangle position. So you're in this position here, offload on one leg, and then up and down from here. So what you're doing is activating your glute medius. The glutes are the strongest extensor of your leg. So when you're doing things like hill climbing, standing up on your bike, that's what's going to be doing a lot of the pushing as well. So it's not just quad. We don't want to just go quad based. We want to use glutes and calves and even hamstrings for the pulling action.
Because a lot of cyclists do complain about tightness in the hip flexors and all of that, and so that's because you're not activating the whole leg, right?
Exactly, and we'll address that after you've been on the bike. There's some hip mobility stuff you should do for sure to make sure you're on top of that. When you get onto your bike, certainly you want to make sure that, I'm finding for the most part, if you're not an avid cycler and have all the gear, it's still important to realize that a stiffer shoe is probably better when you're on your bike. Because you're going to be able to push a little bit more through the pedals. I've played around with softer shoes just for comfort, but a stiff shoe when you're riding certainly gives you a better push and able to push more watts and give you more rotations out of it.
And when you're training on the bike, what are you looking for? Do you do RPMs? Or?
You can do RPMs, and cadence is really important. Find that most people on the bike out on the road will be doing about a 75 to 80 RPM cadence. So to get into the 90s to 95s is a little bit of racing, but you want to try and find a cadence that's comfortable for you. So if your cadence is on, and if we have everything on, you're looking at your cadence, you're looking at to make sure that your RPMs are around 80, and that's a comfortable cadence for me. Now, for somebody else, 82 might be better. For somebody else, 77 might be better. But it's a matter of finding what's best for you. Then when you start playing with your tension, it's want to be something, when you're on here, you want to pretend like you're on the road, just on flat ground. Find a tension that you can hold your 80 RPM and hold at a reasonable heart rate. If you want to start working with training, now this is actually pretty nice if you get saddle sore, which most people do, is to put the tensions up and have a tension enough that you feel like you have to stand up and find your RPMs. And you may not be able to go to your 80, but you can drop to your 60 RPM and work in a stand-up position. This is going to give you the strength to hit the hills and do that. So what we're finding a lot is people will tend to spend a lot of time just doing steady state rides. I think if you would really like to push up your fitness levels and metabolism, do more interval style training, minute on, minute off. So do a 1 minute sprint sitting, take a minute easy, 1 minute sprint standing, take a minute easy, and alternate back and forth for those. And you can do that for 15 minutes, and you'll get more out of that throughout the day than you will doing a 30 or 40 minute slow, steady ride.
Is that right? And playing with your tension, being honest with your tension, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, exactly. So you don't want to be bouncing around. Then once you're done, then we need to address the hip flexors. And this is where we're lying down on the ground, doing some work in this internal, external hip, this kind of movement. And make sure you're staying on top of that end of things, so you're moving through range of motion. That's the biggest complaint that I've heard, is that people will tend to get really tight hip flexors.
And then you're going to get injured.
And you don't want to do that.
Or at risk of getting injured.
So stretching out on top of that, making sure your quads are loose, getting into extended positions, grabbing yourself back here, making sure that everything is open, and the hip flexor, you don't want to be in this position all the time. You want to be able to open up your hips.
Okay, more comprehensive on the bike. Thank you very much, Rich, as per usual. Andrew Schultz, I don't know if, can you do that stretch?
I can.
The hip flexor stretch?
Usually on the couch, and my hips get tight, and so do my hamstrings after couch surfing for 6 or 7 hours, so that's really some awesome advice, Rich. I like that.